I was jealous of Robb my whole life. The way my father looked at him, I wanted that. He was better than me at everything. Fighting and hunting and riding. And girls. God, the girls loved him. I wanted to hate him, but I never could.
Hey love bugs. Last time I talked about my thoughts after reading the prologue in Game of Thrones. The chapter introduced us to the real threat in this world and also gave us a peek to what the others are like. I had a few questions after reading the last chapter that you guys were awesome enough to help me out with. You had some interesting things to say about the prologue, like why did the wildlings go north when Mance was gathering the wildlings south? When will we see Roy's sword appear again in the series, even though I think Thunderclap solved that question. So let's continue this reread and go into our next chapter, which is Bran. So this chapter, the second time around, makes you think of the impact Ned has on each of his children. In the beginning of the chapter, you have Robb and Jon emulating Ned as they sit high on their horse. It's interesting that Robb didn't give Bran tips or encouragement, but that it was Jon that did. Jon seemed to be the one to take the mentor role a few times in this chapter. Jon was the one to tell Bran to hold his horse still. Jon was the one to tell Bran not to look away. And it was Jon to tell Bran that he did a good job at the end.
In the name of Robert of the House Baratheon, the first of his name.
Don't look away.
King of the Andals and the first...
Father will know if you do.
Lord of the Seven Kingdoms and Protector of the Realm. I, Eddard, of the House Stark, Lord of Winterfell and Warden of the North, sentence you to die.
You did well.
Another thing to pick up on is the differences between Robb and Jon. You can see the impact Ned has on both sons, yet they take what Ned has taught them in different ways, which was what led Bran to be stuck in a deep thought after the beheading. You have Robb who says that the deserter took it well and was brave, yet Jon says that he was full of fear. This leads to the conversation Bran has with Ned with the infamous question, can a man be brave when he is afraid? And Ned responds, that's the only way a man can be brave. Now this chapter, Bran doesn't pay attention to what the man's reasoning to why he left the Night's Watch, but Ned's response was an unpleasant look. Later in the next chapter, we figure out why. However, let's bring it back to Robb and Jon, because what I also picked up on was that you can see jealousy between both brothers. Bran knows that Jon has eyes that don't miss much. Robb was the one to address that the man was brave, yet Jon disagreed with Robb, stating that the man wasn't brave at all. The tone to Jon's response showed resentment. He called Robb Stark, showing the differences in the two. And Robb wasn't impressed with Jon's answer, showing that he compares himself to Jon. When they get to the direwolves, Robb was eager to inform his father that he knew how the direwolf died. Now, throughout the chapter, Bran makes notes of Jon seeing everything, not missing much. Yet Robb was so quick to resolve the mystery of how the direwolf died. And basically, he wanted to respond before Jon could. Another point that I didn't pick up on the first time around reading was it was Robb who found the direwolves, but it was Jon who gave Summer to Bran. I'm not sure if that means anything, but it does show that Jon was closer to Bran than Robb. Now, Ned doesn't believe in signs, which we'll talk more about in the next chapter. However, he listens to Jon when he tells him that the direwolves are a sign, with the 5 direwolves for all of his children. Ned accepts the direwolves, but only because of Jon's selfless act he did that Ned agreed to this. So this leads me to a few questions I propose to all rereading this chapter with me. Number 1, how come Robb didn't give Bran tips on his first beheading. Number 2. If Jon was in Robb's position, would he have married Jeyne Westerling or would he have married the Frey? And 3. Who acts more like Ned in this chapter, Jon or Robb? So tell me what you think about this chapter. Did you get any new perspective the second time around, or did you get the same thing last time? Well, we're off to the next chapter, Catelyn, so see you on the other side. Bye.